Now, in today's training, we're going to focus on a calculator. We're going to give you a number of scenarios depending on where you stand. We're going to be leveraging the largest financial market in the world, known as the foreign exchange market, or the Forex. With this system, it will be 100% hands-free, fully automated from your end as an account holder. We've got a team of extremely capable traders, and we'll talk a lot more about our traders and their methodology so you can understand it as you undertake it. Now, let's do a quick review. So we've discussed in a couple of our previous trainings how our system was basically designed based on teachings from Robert Kiyosaki. If you don't know who he is, you want to Google him. He is probably the most, at least one of the most influential financial educators of our day. He says most people struggle because they live on the left-hand side of the quadrant. They're either employees or they're self-employed. We're not here to foo-foo you on your employment or self-employment. We want to move to the right-hand side of the quadrant, where we're either business owners, investors, or both. Now, for 20 plus years, I bought into the work-at-home industry, i.e. network marketing, MLM, then with the internet, affiliate marketing, as being, hey, I'm in business for myself, but not by myself. And we found out that that's not really true when it comes to MLM or network marketing. And, you know, we've developed 6 businesses in that particular arena that became 7-figure businesses, that became $1 million a year or more revenue producing businesses. And if we're frustrated, okay, because of having to start over again and again, because you make 20 grand a month with one company and then that company, something happens to it. You make 90 grand a month with another company, something happens to it. You got to start over. 100 grand. We got to 100 grand with one company. And in one day it came crashing down because something happened to that company. So our focus with our system is to move our audience into the investor category, okay? Now, the challenge is when you look at traditional investing, it works, but it works best when you already have a lot of money or you have a lot of time. So the example is if you had 10,000, whatever your currency happens to be, 10,000 euros, 10,000 Great British pounds, 10,000 Australian dollars, 10,000 whatever, okay? So you've got 10,000, and let's say in a more traditional investment environment, you make 10% a year, okay? Well, that's not enough for you to live an enjoyable and comfortable life. We want to get to the point where we no longer have to labor for the money. The money is laboring for us. That's just not enough. If you had 100,000, whatever your currency happens to be, okay? And you got 10% a year, that's only 10,000. Break that down monthly, that's $833, or whatever your currency happens to be, not enough, all right? And then if you had $1 million, all right? So you had $1 million, you had $1 million euros. Well, now we're talking. You know, if you got a 10% a year return on that pot of money, you've got $100,000 a year. Now, I'm going to tell you this. That I know what it's like to do the 6-figure piece a year. And I also know what it's like to do the 6-figure piece in a month. I want for every single one of you. You know, we can't promise this, but I declare our target, we want to get you to the point where you can see 6-figure months profitability in trading, with you not having to do any of the trading. Now, we're going to help you understand things conceptually. So you either have to have a lot of money or you have to have a lot of time. We talked about the rule of 72. Rule of 72 says if you take the number 72, divide whatever you're getting on your investment into 72, the answer tells you how long it takes your money to double. And so this shows again that you either have to have a lot of money or you have to have a lot of time. And the target of our system is to radically compress time frames. If you had $10,000 and you started off investing at 23 and you were getting a 12% annual return, all right, it would take, you take 72, divide it by 12, it would take 6 years for your money to double. This assumes you're not adding anything to it, don't take anything away. So your 10 will become 20, your 20 will become 40. I'm talking kind of fast because some folks are, you know, this is the maybe like the third training in this this series. So some folks have seen this before, but then we always have people that this is the first time that they're seeing any of our training. So just bear with us for our folks that have seen some of this before, okay? So 35. Now at 41, it becomes 80, and then 160, then 320, then 640, then 1.28 million. So once again, if you had $1.28 million or euros or Great British pounds, as an example, and you got a 12% return a year on that pot of money, that'd make you over $144,000 a year. Most people should be able to do pretty well off of $144,000 a year. But what, again, happened? You either had to have a lot of money already earning traditional investment type annual returns, all right, or you had to build that up, and that building that up took time. In this case, that took 42 years. So what we want to do is we want to compress time frames. Our target is this, ladies and gentlemen. It is to generate respectable annual returns, but do that on a monthly basis. All right, so we want to average an annual return on a monthly basis. More specifically, we are targeting an average net return with our system of 12.5% per month. Now, it's an average is what we're targeting. We may have one month where we did 30%. All right, next month we might be down. We might be down 5%. Well, if you look at that over a 2-month average, that would be 12.5% per month, okay? All right, so that's what our target is. We can't promise that. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring on our disclaimer king right now, all right, because I'm going to take you to a calculator. And if you do not have our portal, we've got a free portal. There's no reason why you shouldn't get the portal. It's absolutely free. There's no monthly subscription. There's no annual subscription. Inside the portal, we give you as much training or as little training as you need for you to feel comfortable setting up your own trading account in your own name with a reputable broker. You'll be able to see every trade winner, every trade loser, so on and so forth, okay? Once you set up your account, once it is funded, your hands are off. And then what we'll do is on a couple times a month, we will, in your portal, we will do a reporting. One is a written report. The other one is a video report, letting you know what is going on with the account. Okay? All right. So now let's do the disclaimer real quickly. Then we're going to come back to a calculator because I want to share 2-3 scenarios of someone that has a decent amount getting started to maybe someone who's starting with a minimum of like 350. Okay? All right. But let's take care of the legalese first. Here's our disclaimer king, and I'll be right back right after DK, our disclaimer king.
Welcome, I am your disclaimer king. Please pay attention to this very important disclaimer. While our system is designed to get you completely and totally and utterly financially free in the next 3 to 5 years, trading the foreign exchange on margin carries a high level of risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Past performance is not indicative of future results. The high degree of leverage can work for you, but can also work against you. Before deciding to invest in the foreign exchange, you should carefully consider your investment objectives, level of experience, and risk appetite. The possibility exists that you could sustain a loss of some or all of your initial investment, and therefore you should not invest money that you cannot afford to lose. You should be aware of all of the risks associated with the foreign exchange trading and seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts. Today's training will introduce a fully automated 100% hands-free Forex managed account. This is referred to as a PAMM account. While the system is automated and 100% hands-free for you, it is manned by real Forex traders. This PAMM account is not registered with any US regulator, NFA or CFTC. In turn, products or services in our Forex system are not intended for residents of the United States. Information and services through our website and training are accessible worldwide. However, it's not directed at residents in any country or jurisdiction where distribution or use would be contrary to local laws or regulations. The responsibility is on the individual or entity to seek professional advice with local laws or regulation based on residency or jurisdiction of that individual or entity. Now, back to my training partner for today's training. Happy trading.
Okay, folks, we are back. We are back. Now let's get to the calculator. And this calculator, the link to this calculator is actually in our portal. So if you don't have our portal, make sure you get it. The portal, again, is free. And you'll be able to go to this calculator and put in your numbers. So I'm going to give a few scenarios here. We're going to use the base currency as the dollar. We could easily click here and use the euro or the pound or yen or what have you. All right, we're going to use the dollar. We're going to say that a person is going to fund their account with $10,000. Now, as I'm doing this recording, there are 2 accounts that you'll be able to participate in. In time, there'll be a 3rd and a 4th and the 5th. If you're going to fund with something like, $10,000, $5,000, $50,000, what have you, even $1,000 or more, we strongly would have you to consider splitting your funding in half. Right now, we've got 2 accounts. So putting half in one account, half in the other, so you have some diversification of what's happening. Okay, we're going to put 12.5 right here, but instead of yearly, we're going to do monthly. And then we're going to calculate this period for 5 years. Now, we're not suggesting that you're not going to do any withdrawals for a 5-year period or 3-year period or what have you. But we do want to allow the accounts to season, okay? We do want to allow the account to season. And if you were to allow it to grow over a 3 to 5 year period, depending on what your base amount that you're starting with, and let's say you didn't add anything to it, we just want to show you with this calculator what this could mean for you in terms of growth. Now remember, what we want to do, if we're able to average 12.5% net on a monthly basis, okay, we would be compressing 1 year's worth of returns into that 1 month. All right, so 5 years is 60 months. If we were able to average over a 5-year stretch 12.5% per month, obviously there's going to be months that we are likely going to take losses. There's going to be months where we could come in well above our 12.5%, okay? But if we average 12.5% over 5 years, we would be condensing 60 years worth of traditional annual returns into just that 5 years. Let's click where it says calculate. And you could see we don't have to get anywhere close to 5 years if we were dealing with, let's say, $10,000 to get started. And listen, I know not everybody's going to have 10 grand to get started. I'm going to give you a number of scenarios. I'm going to show you the minimum. The minimum is 350, depending on how you're funding your account. Could be as little as 300, but let's say 350 if you were funding your account with something like Bitcoin. All right, a number of different funding options you'll have with our preferred broker. All right, so if we go right here at the end of year 3, the 10,000 is now 694. Now I want to do this. Let me pull up my calculator and let's just see what that could look like. If you had 694,000 and it did 12.5% for the month net, what could that look like? Give me a moment. Let me go and bring up my calculator. All right, so I've got my calculator and I'm just going to put in the 694,000. And if you got 12.5% net for that month, I mean, that would generate $86,000 and you for the month. Can you live on that? You okay? You all right? So imagine if you had $10,000 of investment capital that you did not need to take care of bills right now or what have you, and you felt comfortable. This is why we put together our portal, so that whatever amount you're funding with, whether it's $350 or $3,500 or $35,000 or whatever that amount happens to be, that you have an understand it as you undertake it, conceptual understanding of what's going on with our system. Now, again, what I said to you earlier is, I know what it's like from a marketing standpoint to make over $100,000 in commissions for the month in my marketing business. And boy, that is so liberating. I want so much for all of you to ultimately be there. So if we were to go about, let's see here, if we went about 3.5 years, that's about 42 months. That would condense 42 years worth of investment returns into those 42 months. And that would get us closer to that $1 million range. You can see here at the end of the fourth year, multi-millions of dollars. Now, this is another reason why we can't scale this system up to 10,000 account holders or 20,000 account holders or what have you. So at some point, we're going to close things off, and there won't be any more portal giveaways. There won't be any new account holders. We're just going to ride with those that we have, all right? And that really is a function of the numbers. Right now, we're expecting sometime in 2020 to go completely private. And once we go completely private, those who know nothing about us won't know anything about us, and we'll just quietly help to produce. We'd love to produce millionaires with this system, okay? All right. By the way, let's say you got to maybe multiple millionaire status. What we'd love, let's say you got here, all right? What we would love is we would love to have you in a position where you could actually take out a large chunk of your Forex assets, all right? Of course, you know, you have to deal with your taxes in your local area and what have you. But what if you could take out $1 million away from the volatility, because the Forex market is more volatile than, you know, many forms of traditional investing. What if you could take $1 million out and do the more traditional form of investing where you were getting, let's say, you know, 10% a year. But, you know, you got $1 million making 10% a year in a less volatile environment, and that's generating $100,000 a year for you. That's really where we want to have you. So we'd love for you to be able to ultimately build an account, $1 million, maybe $2 million, or even more with our system. Now that was 10,000. Not everybody's going to have 10,000, obviously. Let's shave off a zero. Okay, we'll keep the 5 years in play, and we'll calculate. So $1,000. Now, why wouldn't you do this? $1,000. Okay, let's say $1,000. I'm just going to let it ride for 3 to 5 years in this example. Okay, in this example, you'd probably want to let it go more than just 3 years. That doesn't mean that you're not taking some periodic withdrawals from time to time. What some folks will do is they'll use this calculator, and they will, you know, maybe put together a spreadsheet and say, okay, well, if I started off with this amount, if we average 12.5%, you know, this is what my account could look like in month 3, in month 7, in month, you know, 14, or what have you. And if they're over that amount, all right, whatever it would say in month 14, then they may take a portion of the profits over and above, but they may want to stay on schedule. Staying on schedule meaning if we can average 12.5% per month. In this example, $1,000, all right, it would take us about 5 years. All right, that's why we call our system 3 to 5 years. All right, take about 5 years. Let's just do these numbers real quickly. We'll be rounding third soon. Closing out this training soon. All right, I won't do all of the cents there. All right, 1.1 million. Once again, what if you got 12.5% for the month there? Okay, 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years. Now, if you want to accelerate this, you might want to pay attention when you come inside to the optional referral side. But the figures I'm showing you here have nothing to do with you doing any selling or telling. The figures we're showing here have nothing to do with you referring anyone or anything like that. You could just be a secret agent account holder, okay? And that's fine with us. If that's cool with you, that's cool with us. And let's give you one more, okay? Let's do the 350 as the minimum. Now, I'm going to stretch this one out to 6 years. At the end of 6 years, you imagine $350. And in this case, you didn't touch it, all right? You just let it grow. And again, we're not suggesting that you got to wait 6 years before you do that, but we're just giving you an example, okay? Here we go. 1.68, 6 million. Imagine that. See, this is what we want for you. Kiyosaki says we want our money making money for us. We want our money laboring for us. So you no longer have to labor. Let me show one last thing here, okay? And again, make sure you come inside and you'll be able to get access to this calculator. What if you got started with the 350, because that's just where you are. You just don't have a lot of resources right now. And any funds you get started with, they need to be investment capital. They need to be funds you don't need to take care of your family. Heaven forbid if you took a loss, if you lost some of it or all of it, heaven forbid, it would not cause any financial upheaval in your family, okay? What if you do this? What if a person just didn't have a lot of resources, but what they did is they said, okay, I've got $350 to get started, and I'm going to find some fat in my budget. I'm going to shave off some fat in my budget. There's some places I'm spending money that's not helping me to get to where I want to get. And let's say that they were going to add $100 a month, okay, $100 a month to their account. Now, I'm not even going to go, well, I'll do 6 years there. Calculate and just see what that would mean. That would shave off a year. So if a person did $350 to get started and they just added $100 a month to their account, treated it like they were doing like a retirement type of thing, okay? This is what can happen. And so what would happen is they would have shaved off a year off of their time in that particular example, okay? So there's all sorts of things that you can do with this calculator. There's even withdrawal here. Yeah, here's a great one. If a person, let's say you come in, you get the calculator, and let's say you say, okay, well, what happens if I get to $100,000, but I didn't want to start doing a regular monthly withdrawal? What would that look like? Well, you can do that. You can play around with that. You could play around with that. Okay, and you'd want to have a larger base amount. All right, you wouldn't want to start doing withdrawals at $350, but you could have a larger base amount, and then you could calculate. And so this would show you, okay, well, maybe you said I'm going to build my account up to $100,000, and at that point I'm going to start taking out $1,000 a month, or $2,000 a month, or $3,000 a month. Looks like you could take out a lot more than that. Let's say you're going to take out half, because if at $100,000 you made 12.5% a month, we can't promise that. That's our target. If you took out half of that, that'd be $6,000. So let's do that. And so you get to play around with this, okay? All right. So let's say you grew your account to $100,000, and then you said, well, that's when I'm going to start taking out on a monthly basis if we're profitable that month. Well, hey, you start off at, you're taking $6,000 a month out, and you still had, at the end of that year, after you built up to $100,000, you still have a quarter of a million almost in your account. All right. And listen, I know these numbers here are gargantuan. This is likely you would have done something. You would have been doing some diversification. Part of your withdrawals might be that you are diversifying into other things and so on and so forth. We just want to help you get to the point where you got the financial resources to be able to do that. So I'm just going to go back here as we finish out this training to something that I think everybody should be able to see. Give me a moment here. Why? It's just a function of numbers, ladies and gentlemen. If we hit our targets, it's just a function of numbers, but it's also the reason why we can't scale this to 10,000, 20,000 account holders, okay? So here's what you want to do. If you already have our portal and you now have enough information for you to make a prudent choice to set up your account, go to where it says Getting Started on the left-hand menu. Get registered initially with our preferred broker. We've got all of the instructions, the video and written instructions right there. Make sure you watch every video, every second of every video, so you set it up properly and you read every word of text that's on that page, okay? It is a little cumbersome. It's going to take a little time, maybe a couple of hours, to get everything set up properly. However, once it's done and your account is funded, then it's 100% hands off from there. Okay, we will provide a couple times a month either a written or a video follow-up to let you know what's going on in the account, as well as plenty of training so you understand the methodology of our traders. If you don't have our portal, all right, you may be seeing this on one of our training pages where there's a link and it takes you directly to where you can register your portal. Click on that link, because that's going to tie you to the person that got this training page to you. There is an optional referral element, so we want to make sure that the proper person gets the proper credit. And we talk more about our hush income stream. That's the optional referral element once you come inside the portal. All right, with that being said, we love each and every one of you. Let's change the world together, starting with yours, and let's get you completely and totally and utterly financially free in the next 3 to 5 years. See you in the next day, 2 or 3 with our next training.